First, with regard to what's going on, I think you're talking about what's going on in Eagle Pass, right? Yeah. So Texas has the legal authority to control ingress and egress into any geographic location in the state of Texas. And that authority is being asserted with regard to that park in Eagle Pass, Texas, to maintain operational control of it. With regard to your question, listen, I was asked a question to legally distinguish between what Texas has the legal authority to do and what would be illegal to do. And I explained in detail all the different things that Texas is doing that we have the legal authority to do, and pointed out what would be illegal to do.
A lot of things have been going on in this country, and maybe this issue hasn't gotten enough press because the commercial media is too tied up with Trump, and a lot of the politically orientated media is either too tied up with trying to put Trump back into the White House or keep Trump out of the White House. But there's something going on in Texas that's really disturbing.
I want to thank the governors who are with us here today. We have Governor Kim Reynolds from Iowa, Governor Kristi Noem from South Dakota, Governor Pillen from Nebraska, and Governor Stitt from Oklahoma. They're here to both tour the border, to tour what we're doing with the buoys on the border, as well as they are deploying military and or law enforcement officers to help Texas secure the border. In addition to these governors with us here today, the following governors have also provided either military personnel or law enforcement personnel. Governor Lee from Tennessee, Governor Little from Idaho, Governor DeSantis from Florida, Governor DeWine from Ohio, Governor Sanders from Arkansas, Governor McMaster from South Carolina, Governor Youngkin from Virginia, Governor Justice from West Virginia, Governor Mark Gordon from Wyoming, Governor Burgum from North Dakota. All together, counting Texas, we have 15 governors in 15 states from the United States that are deploying personnel to secure the border. Altogether, if you add in the other states that are supporting this mission, 25 governors in 25 states, half of the states of the United States of America are banding together to step up and secure a border that President Biden has abandoned.
That's disturbing enough, but I'm going to say, for real, I don't expect anything different out of Abbott, because Abbott has proven that he is a true authoritarian, and he's not beyond using cruelty and violence to enforce his edicts, and at the same time stunt to gain popularity in the Republican Party, which is basically completely unhinged and hateful, and actually becoming very fascist and racist, or finally publicly displaying their fascism and racism on a mass scale. But what Abbott has done, it kind of goes back to, let's say, the pre-Civil War days, when Southern governors from Southern states kind of used their state militias to poke and prod at federal troops and federal operations, just to make a display of power, to show that, don't tread on us, don't stop us from doing what we're doing, because we got the states right and the federal government can't support our states' needs. Well, if your state's needs are immoral, or if your state's needs reflect things and actually step in the face of the Constitution, then the federal government, in order to protect the Constitution and the Union, should
volatile comments from Texas Governor Greg Abbott. In a recent interview, he said Texas has employed every available measure to secure the border, except for shooting migrants.
The migrant crisis at our southern border is having an impact all across our country, from policy debates on Capitol Hill to stretching the resources of a number of cities.
We are seeing a battle between the state of Texas and the Biden administration over immigration.
The major developments from the state of Texas, it's going on offense yet again. The Texas National Guard seizing control of a park that's been at the center of this migrant crisis. It's called Shelby Park. It sits along the Rio Grande River. It served as a landing point for illegals crossing into the U.S. more than 2 years.
We are deploying every tool and strategy that we possibly can. The only thing that we're not doing is we're not shooting people who come across the border because, of course, the Biden administration would charge us with murder.
Abbott goes on to explain his efforts to protect Texas's borders, saying he is using every tool he can, such as building border walls to border barriers, passing SB 4, which the Biden administration has now filed a lawsuit against Texas. And it's not just El Pasoans reacting to Abbott's comments, but so too are lawmakers. In a post on X, Representative Veronica Escobar said, "I can't believe I have to say murdering people is unacceptable. Greg Abbott, it's language like yours that left 23 people dead and 22 others injured in El Paso." People I spoke with were split when I asked them how effective has Abbott's approach to securing the border in Texas has been.
The Department of Justice responding in a new filing to the Supreme Court, saying that Texas taking over that park in Eagle Pass prevents them, Border Patrol, from being able to patrol and surveil the border. They also say that it creates risk not only to migrants, but also to Border Patrol agents. Here's the
along with razor wire on the Rio Grande near Eagle Pass. Mexico is now requesting that Texas remove these barriers. They say the state is violating international treaties. And Mexico actually says they first raised this with the administration 3 weeks ago. So do you agree with Mexico that Texas is violating these international treaties? And if so, how do you plan to respond?
Look, I saw these reports, and I think one of the things, and I've been very clear about this, that this governor has done over and over again is treated this situation that we're seeing at the border in an inhumane way. It is atrocious, the actions that he decides to take. He takes this, instead of dealing with this issue in a way that we can get to a resolution or working together, he turns it into a political stunt, and that's what we have seen. I can't speak to conversations 3 weeks ago with the Mexican government. I don't have any information to share on if that came up in a conversation, but this is not surprising. This is not surprising. Just yesterday, I was asked about abandoning children, migrant children, not offering them water. This is what we see over and over and over again from this Texas governor, from Governor Abbott, and it is all we're asking for, as a country, and what we should hold near and dear is the basic human decency, and we are just not seeing this from this governor.
Migrants arrived in New York City from Laredo, Texas, while from Chicago and Philadelphia to Denver and Pittsburgh, shelters are being stretched thin in cities from coast to coast. Illegal border crossings have actually dropped each day since the COVID border restriction known as Title 42 expired last week. But with border processing centers slammed, newly released court documents reveal more than 6,400 migrants were released into the U.S. last Thursday and Friday. In Chicago, there are now pop-up showers for migrants living in police stations.
They have not showered for probably from 5 days to almost 2 weeks.
While in New York City, parents and even students are protesting a new plan to temporarily house asylum seekers in school gyms.
What worries you most?
I don't know these people. Why can't they send them someplace else?
New York City Mayor Eric Adams says there's just no room anywhere else. We spoke with this woman who's been living at an emergency shelter near Times Square for 4 months.
How long do you expect to be here?
I'm just trying to save up a little more money to be able to find another place to go, she tells us. The mayor is blasting the Biden administration for not doing more.
We're not getting the support that we deserve here in New York City.
The immigration debate now spilling into the suburbs, too. Orange County, New York, granted a temporary restraining order, stopping more migrants from being bused to local hotels for now. The county executive says homeless veterans were pushed out of hotel housing early to make way.
The 20 veterans that were displaced, that is really sends a bad message.
You can't just drop a bombshell on them and kick them back out to the streets. Leave the veterans alone.
Neighboring Rockland County is also sued to keep migrants out, so we expect more court battles in the coming days. Meanwhile, New York City budget officials estimate that housing and caring for migrants will cost taxpayers more than $4 billion.
Gabriel Diaz, his wife, and their son made their way to New York City. I knew people here that could help me, he says, referring to others who, like him, are claiming asylum in the United States. Similar to countless others, his motivation was in pursuit of a better life. Now the tough reality is setting in. It's hard because I don't have the papers of permission to work, he says. For now, Diaz lives in a Manhattan hotel, now one of the more than 200 emergency shelters the city is using to house migrants. But life in New York City, even with a roof over your head, is nearly impossible without any money. He's working under the table, he says. For cash? Sí. For cash, yes, he says. He gets paid cash to deliver food. He works long hours for little money. Under federal law, after filing an asylum claim, migrants must wait 6 months before attempting to work legally. This is very worrisome, says Diaz, as he tries to figure out how to provide for his family long term. It's hard, but it's harder in my country, he says. He left Venezuela, a nation which for years has been plunged in a political, economic, and humanitarian crisis. He says poverty and danger forced his family to run away. Asylum seekers in the United States fear persecution due to things like politics, religion, and race, for example. The city says resources are at capacity. To date, around 140,000 migrants and asylum seekers have come to New York City since last spring, looking for shelter while they wait for their immigration cases to be finalized. In a recent statement to Fox 5 News, a spokesperson for the mayor said, time and time again, Mayor Adams has warned that we are past our breaking point. We have run out of space to accommodate migrants without limits.
People always think that the grass is greener on the other side, and they have to get there to experience it to find out that the grass ain't greener. And sometimes even if they walk into a situation that the residents think is bad, it's still better than where they came from. And that's why a lot of immigrants sit there and laugh at us for crying about how things are in America. They'll tell you, if you think it's bad here, go to where I came from. Now, what danger does Abbott pose to the rest of the country? It's because when you put people in green U.S. military uniforms, and the National Guard wears green U.S. military uniforms, when you put people who are wearing U.S. flags on their shoulders, driving vehicles that say property of the United States government, that operate as trained military, trained by the United States Department of Defense. When they do things to other people, the world doesn't look at it as Abbott doing things. They look at the videos and they see United States troops. If these troops were called up by Biden to go to Israel, they would be looked at as United States troops by all the Israelis, by all the Palestinians. Nobody would give a shit that they were Texas National Guard. That is the same way that the countries that these immigrants come from look at. And a lot of the countries that these immigrants come from, they don't like America. And believe me, as soon as something pops off and one of these Texas National Guard people do something, whether it involves shooting somebody or somebody getting, hurt, hung, run over, castrated, raped, they're not gonna say, oh, it was a Texas National Guardsman. They're gonna say it was a U.S. soldier. Just because of the uniform. And Abbott is not going to be accountable for anything. This is the thing that amazes me about these Republican dictators want to be. They want to do shit. They want to be on the extreme. They want to cause pain to ensure their reign. They want their will to become the edicts that the country operates under. But they don't want to be accountable for the consequences and the failures that their plans generate.